going to move my mic over here this time so it doesn't pick up mouse clicks.
Hello, and welcome to the Deep End Gaming Podcast, a podcast where we take a look at the deeper end of the board gaming hobby. Today, I'm joined by my fellow host, Clay Ross, owner of Capstone Games, and a man whose attention from the male gaming audience can only be described by his wife as alarming. And Ryan Metzler, former heavy game reviewer from the Dice Tower, and a hotly divisive proponent of bags in the bags versus cornhole platform debate. I'm Joe Wiggins, and if you care to know who I am or what I do, if you were to think of the Deep End Podcast as an aesthetically dramatic career of a once-lauded filmmaker turned into an over-exaggerated parody of himself as his films careen off a cliff, I would be Ed Wood. We are a podcast about heavy games for heavy gamers and definitively answering the question, what? Oh, man, I forgot to retype this. Wow. I redid the entire thing and I forgot to retype that. So, what is your favorite kind of cheese? All right. How are you guys doing? We're going to get into it. That's on top of my head. Sorry about that. I completely forgot to redo that question. So, Clay, you excited about Gen Con, man?
I'm excited to talk about some cheese first, but yeah, Gen Con second.
Talking about cheese.
Tell me, Clay, what is your favorite kind of cheese, man?
I like the goat cheese. There's this cheese we get at Kroger. It's a drunken goat. On the rind is like dipped in a red wine. I guess it marinates in there for a little bit, but it's really good. We get that and watch movies all the time. So.
Okay, cheese and
drunken goat,
cheese and movies. And Ryan, how's life from the hotel?
It's beautiful. I'm here in Chicago on the 23rd floor of this hotel right here. And in terms of cheeses, I don't know if I can choose between my babies. You realize that I'm from Wisconsin.
Oof.
And so I might have to go with something in like a mustard seed Gouda. Might be a good choice. Something in that type of area.
Mustard seed?
Yep.
I'm a huge cheese guy as well. I really like cheese. I love some good strong Irish cheddar, but honestly, if I had to pick a cheese to eat, I am gonna go blue. I like a good
so gross
solid blue cheese. Oh, so amazing with those big thick veins in it. Oh, love it.
But I am going to completely step off of that comment and yeah.
And on that note, though, we are getting excited because in about 1 week, all of us are going to be packing our bags and headed off towards Indianapolis, Indiana to be at Gen Con. Are you guys ready for Gen Con?
No, but yes.
Oh, yes, dude. I am pumped, man. I'm ready to go.
Are your games going to be here on time, Clay?
Yes, they are. They're actually, I'm picking them up in Cincinnati tomorrow. So, or the climbers I am. The Ruhr is already here.
All right.
It's actually right there. So, yes.
I have my copy. I don't have a copy.
Me either. Yeah.
Hey,
I guess you know who his true friends are.
Oh, God.
But I'm sure Tom Vassell has his copy already. All right. But anyways, it's been a long time since we've been able to get on and record, but we've gotten a lot of really good gaming in over, well, some of us at least.
Yeah.
So some of us might be talking about the same game for 6 episodes in a row.
Come on. I got excuses, man.
Yeah, but, I'm not away from home all the time or anything.
Oh, I hate you guys.
We are going to be talking about what we've been playing, and Ryan is going to jump in with some of the Gen Con hotness and give us his take on it. So take us away, Ryan, and lead us off into what you've been playing.
What the hell's the name of that again? Wasteland Express Delivery Service. That's the name of the game. So I had a friend contact me on Saturday, and he's like, I've got to play this game, and he's trying to get started in like reviewing and things like that. So he hit me up, and he knew that like I would be sympathetic to the, oh my God, I've got to get this to the table feeling. And so we put it down, and first things first, Production quality, outstanding. Don't know who printed it, but holy cow.
Panda. Panda.
Did they? Okay. It's got game trays in it, so those are awesome. Those are a separate thing, but it's got, awesome components. The art is wonderful. All around great. The game, well, there it struggles a little bit. And so the whole idea behind the game is that you are in some post-apocalyptic wasteland. You have missions semi Borderlandian feel, right? Or Mad Max-ish or something like that, where you're supposed to be helping out different factions of raiders that are not helping out, but working against different factions of raiders that are in this wasteland and kind of robbing them for their goods, or I guess you can purchase the goods. I never did buy any goods. But you could buy goods, I suppose, and then deliver them somewhere else in order to accomplish 3 missions throughout the course of the game. And some of the missions are fighting, and some of them are pick up and deliver, and some of them are like acquire this artifact and take it to this place. But aside from a pick up and deliver game where you have quests, it's really not very interesting. The theme would hold it for a lot of people, and it doesn't hold it for me. And I think that's probably where I have to end it. It was all right. That's about it.
Does it succeed in being a good pick up and deliver game?
No, a particularly good pick up and deliver game. No.
What is a great pick up and deliver game?
Oof, boy. What is a great pick up and deliver game?
That is a good one, actually. But what about where would you put Merchants in Venus in the pantheon of pick up games?
It's Merchant of Venus, and it's good. Again, I like Merchant of Venus because it's nostalgic. I guess it's old and it's still good, which is nice. Right. I don't know of many amazing pick up and deliver games. Merchant of Venus is pretty good, but pick up and deliver is not that interesting to me. I mean, grab the thing, take it to the other place. Okay, I did it.
And I wouldn't necessarily ever put a game like Age of Steam, though you do pick up and deliver in the pick up. Yeah, in the pick up and deliver like place. Like I wouldn't put those games in that same realm of gaming because there's a certain aesthetic, not aesthetic even, but a certain feel to a pick up and deliver game. And Age of Steam is not that. It's more of a route building game.
Like I'm trying to remember what the Dice Hate Me game was. What the hell was the name of that one? It was just a little box game. And it was actually pretty good.
Great Heartland Hauling Company.
That's what I think a pick up and deliver game needs to be. That's small and fast and easy.
Yeah,
and that was a good one. I liked that for what it was. So
Dice Hate Me their small box games are underrated because they did Isle of Trains too.
Yep,
which that was a fantastic little game. I love that game.
Isle of Trains, designed by the what the hell's the name of the thing I'm looking for? Anyhow, the guy from TMG, Seth Jaffe, designed that game.
Did he really? Oh, good on him. I like Seth. He's good.
Pretty sure it was him.
But so Wasteland Delivery Service, I guess if you're looking for a thematic, big box kind of big, highly produced pick up and deliver game, that might do it for you. But as far as like the heavy gamers, you're kind of giving it the thumbs down.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I'm never gonna play it again.
Okay,
there's that. So
and there is that to be said for not every game's gonna fit those tastes, and if you're somebody that kind of is into the games that we like, that's definitely something to keep in mind. But I'm sure there's an audience out there for it.
Oh sure, I mean, but I will also say that the guy that I played with who has a little bit of a different taste than I do, and so he's more Ameritrashy, more thematic. He's not terribly fond of it either. We just didn't find anything outstanding about it. Put it that way.
Huh. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've kind of rearranged my games upteen times going into this because I've played a ton of games over the last couple of weeks. But the one game I do want to talk about first is an 18xx game that I've only got one play in of. So only one play, but I did want to mention it because I do not know how I feel about it after one play, and I just want to kind of talk it out, I guess, a little bit, kind of do some like radiotherapy kind of stuff to feel how I feel about this one.
If you like it, yeah.
Yeah, but I played 18 Ireland. So 18 Ireland is this big, hot game that's been coming out, and all the 18xx people are all over 18 Ireland. And so 18 Ireland has a lot of interesting stuff. First, most notably, is the bank is like $4,000, which is nothing, like absolutely nothing in the game. But it takes forever for it to run out because there is no money on that board, and you are spending money the entire time. Like, you are super poor in this game. Second off, it's got some interesting things it does with the private powers, where there's like 15 in the game, and even though you use like 6 of them, only 2 come out guaranteed every time. So there's like a random allotment of all these different privates, so you never know what special powers are going to be in the game. That's very cool. I like that. More 18xx games should use that. Next is it does the 1822 thing, where these minors come out in a randomized order, so you never know which ones are coming out, when they're coming out, how good they're going to be at, because how well they're going to combo with other ones. It's, even though you know the order, how they're going to come out really is going to affect what's going on. But this one played very strangely. It has this merger mechanic where there's a merger round, and if you are connected to another company, you can just announce the merger of that company, and you can use your shares to vote to merge into that company. And if anyone who has shares gets to vote, plus all the shares in the market get to vote. And if that other guy can't, overcome your votes, you're just going to merge into his company and either take his company away or throw your garbage company into his company and stick him with a really crappy thing. It's very mean. It is a vicious, vicious game. It's
the way you explain that sounds like Indonesia, kind of, where you can just be like, all right, these two are merging just because. Is that kind of like what that is?
So you have to be in it, but also you're not going to be paying a lot of money. There's no money exchange, which is, I think, what Indonesia's greatest thing is even though you might get your thing ripped away from you in Indonesia, you get a ton of money for it. Whereas in this game, you just might get a share of whatever new company got merged with. You know what I mean? So I think it also has this very strange aspect with dual gauge or with narrow gauge track, where you're trying to build these very intricate networks of narrow gauge to add value to cities, but one person can just come in there, upgrade one piece of track, and screw that all up. And so this is kind of how I walked away from the game after a thing, is when I play an 18xx game, I like to be able to do cool stuff. Like, I like to be like, oh, I pulled this combo off, or I made this really interesting move, or I was able to move my money like this and pull off this thing that no one else thought I could do and pull off this really interesting thing. And in Ireland, there is none of that. It is just mean. Everything that you do in the game is either you're attacking yourself to force yourself into a weaker position to throw your garbage company at someone else as an attack, or you're just straight up stabbing someone in their face because you're just trying to hurt them. And I walked away from the game because it was just a slog of a game. And I don't say that in the most negative way. It was just, the yellow phase was really long, and it was just really intense to play, and everything that you were doing was just beating each other down while the game was beating you down just over and over and over, to where I kind of got done with it, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, because I didn't get to do anything cool. I just got to punch someone else in the face, or try to, harder than they were punching me in the face while the game was curb stomping us, And after I was done, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a favorite of mine. I don't know. And, honestly, I walked away from it going, I want to play it more. I want to see what this title has to offer. But I just don't see it being my taste of 18xx particularly. I like an 1822 where it's open and all of these crazy things that you can do, and you're just, all of the tools are put in front of you and you can put it together. I don't like one where it gives you the worst tools that you can have, and all you can do is make shinks out of them. That's what I felt like 18 Ireland was. And it was really rough. So that's kind of my thoughts right now. I'm going to want to play it more. It's initial impressions more than anything else. But that's kind of how I'm feeling about 18 Ireland. Is it's just a very mean, angry, vicious game. But I don't know how it's going to come with more plays. It might get better, or it might just be something I just don't want to play that title anymore. But that's kind of how I'm feeling about 18 Ireland right now.
Question.
I played that game once.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was fine. It was fine.
Is that the most chaotic 18xx you've ever played?
chaotic.
Yeah, it sounds chaotic from what you're saying. Like you've got all these, you're just like
it's hard to call something. It's hard to call something chaotic when it felt like such a slog. Like it really just felt like, oh my goodness, this again. Oh, I'm getting hit again. Because I don't know if it's chaotic. It's more that it's just such a beatdown.
Wow.
From every way that you can look at it. It's rough. I don't know.
From it.
It really was. Because like I'll feel invigorated. Like I'll play 1822 or something like that, and man, I'm pumped. I'm ready to play some more. But like I got done with this one, and I'm just like driving home thinking about it. Because after my initial things, as soon as we got done playing, I was like, I effing hate this game. I freaking hate this. But then like I gave it like 30 minutes, an hour, and I drove home and I texted the guys I was playing with. I was like, you know what? I think I like it a lot more than I thought I initially did, and I want to play it again. But I don't know how much I'm going to like it in the long run. But that's 18 Ireland. Yeah, that's 18 Ireland. But any day playing any 18XX is better than any day not playing an 18XX. So, but Clay, you go ahead and lead us on. You're going to talk about Age of Steam.
Yeah, speaking of 18XX, let's talk about Age of Steam. I mean Concordia, because that's
it's confusing. The two are confusing.
I know. I forgot.
They are so similar that it's really boggling.
I told my wife, I was like, we need to play a game together, and we were sitting around, and I was like, I got this really cool train game, and so I brought out Concordia, and we played it, and I know I said train game, but whatever. No, but seriously though, on all seriousness, I broke out Concordia for the wife because she's not a big gamer by all means. But dude, she picked it up really well, and I know when she likes a game because she tries to figure out how to win on her first play. And I'm like, just relax, enjoy the game, enjoy the experience. And we just played the basic map for 2 players, and she was digging it, man. And I think she wants to play it again, so I want to break out Corsica. It's the really small, tight map that just came out last year. So I love Concordia, man, and it was great. It was just a good time together. So,
you know, my wife does the same thing. So my wife is a much bigger gamer than your wife, Clay.
Yes, this is true.
My wife wins. She's a bigger gamer than both of your wives.
Oh, there we go.
Probably.
Yeah.
My wife is so sad she can't be at Gen Con this year too. She's like, I cannot believe I don't get a work play this year. She's like, I'm so sad. But my wife does the same thing too, Clay. Like if she can't figure out a game on her first play, and she just feels like she just didn't get it, she won't like the game. Like she won't, like if she plays a game and she doesn't have to win, but if she just feels like she just got through an entire game, she's like, I have no idea what I was doing, she'll hate that game instantly. So
no PAX Renaissance for your wife. Okay.
I've been wanting to teach her PAX Porfiriana for a while, but yeah.
So I think my wife, if we lived closer, I think my wife would play more board games. I really do.
If you live closer to me?
Yeah, because
I mean, closer to one another. Actually, they live in different houses.
Like, can we live in the same house? I mean, you got an extra room, right?
I don't know. We're so busy with our swinger parties and stuff like that. I don't know.
Oh no, I meant Clay and his wife lived in different houses, and if they lived,
this is going left turn. All right.
All Clay's money go towards alimony. He might be able to play with his ex more often.
I know, exactly.
Child support sucks. All right.
No.
So, Concordia, 6 weeks in a row. But no.
Hey, going for the record.
Hey, I'm really good. I'm really good.
Yes. But Ryan is going to talk about Concordia too.
Yeah, I also played Concordia. Oh, no, damn it. It was Age of Steam. It was Age of Steam that I played.
They're so similar.
Second rate.
It's very confusing. But anyhow, I hadn't had it to the table in 5 to 7 years. And so finally got Age of Steam back to the table. And the reason it hadn't been to the table is that my wife was like, didn't like it, don't want to play it again. And this was back in our earlier days of gaming. When we kind of started out a little bit lighter, and we played it, and it was like the first ever train game we had played at all. And she just didn't remember liking the auctions, and for some reason she kept comparing it to Acquire, and I think it's again because who knows. Whatever. But anyhow, we got it to the table.
Stocks and money.
Yeah, I mean,
But there's no stocks really.
But I would say, but there's no stocks, so auctions, I guess, but not really. Anyhow, turns out she loves the game. She just didn't remember loving the game, and she thoroughly shit-stomped me because I built myself into a corner and was never able to deliver any of the cubes that showed up into my cities for more than like a one track delivery. So it was really not good. As a matter of fact, everybody who played beat me, and so next time I will not do that. But overall, that's a great game. Everybody knows it's a great game. We talk about it a ton, so we don't need to badger on Concordia.
Age of Steam.
Right.
Come on.
People are going to be very confused. Yeah. So moving on.
I said it intentionally.
Okay. So moving on, I will talk about a game that is not Concordia or Age of Steam. But this is going to be a weird one.
Ticket to Ride.
Yes. No. So this is going to be a really weird one to talk about because I've really got to broach this one with like a just take my hand. Just take my hand, listeners. Just do it. Just for a second. Just hold on. Come with me. Let me talk to you for a minute, and you can make your own decision at the end, because I know all of the words I'm going to say are bad, but I need you to just come with me for just a minute, just to hear about this for a second, okay? Just don't shut this off as soon as you hear about this. But I've been playing a game called Spirit Island. So,
what the hell is that?
Listen, I need to just give a little bit of preface to this. So I kind of got into heavy gaming about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and kind of went down the rabbit hole real fast, okay? But before that, I mean, I was still a hardcore board gamer, everything like that. But I was backing a lot of Kickstarters. And so since Kickstarters can sometimes take so long to get delivered, and sometimes they have extravagant delays like this one did, I was getting a lot of Kickstarter games that when I got it, my taste had changed so much that I'd get it and be like, I don't want this anymore. I'll sell it, you know? And so I was just getting games, flipping them, getting games, flipping them, getting games, flipping them. You know, I'd get like all of these cool Mini or Not projects, and I'd be like, I don't really think this is going to be for me anymore. And I just sell it off. So one of the games that I had backed, just because it looked cool, was a game called Spirit Island. And this was done by Greater Than Games at the time, who was famous for Sentinels of the Multiverse, the comic book card game. And this was coming out from their new kind of side company called Fabled Nexus. Now, what this game was it was a cooperative game. Right away, right now, turn off. I am not a cooperative game player. It is not something I care about. It is not something I'm even remotely interested in. Second of all, it was really selling itself on its artwork, its theme, all of this stuff. Again, more stuff, instant turnoffs. Not that big of a deal. It had plastic miniatures that were in the game. Again, huge turnoff. And as this game got closer and closer from its delays to actually getting delivered, it was one of those games that I thought I was going to get, and I was just going to sell it as soon as I got it because I had no interest. But the game came in, it had all of this Kickstarter extra stuff, and so I opened it up, and I was looking at it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give this game a shot. I had someone at Origins that kind of came up to me and said, hey, it's really good, and I just didn't know about it. I was very iffy on it. But I decided to give it a shot. And I freaking love this game. This game is so good. Okay, so let me kind of give you the broad overview of the game. So it's basically Settlers of Catan, but the theme where the game, the AI of the game, the kind of cooperative engine, the game playing against you, is playing the settlers colonizing the island. You are cooperatively playing different spirits of the island. So you might be the lightning god or the fire god or the river god or the like fear god or the, you know, whatever, the shadows god or someone, you know, all of these different things, the earth rock god. And you're cooperatively trying to figure out how you're going to drive the settlers off of the island. And you have unique powers and decks of cards, and every single god plays extremely differently. So I've now seen like 6 or 7 different gods played, and each one of them is completely unique from the other one because of the way their cards work, the way they draft their different powers, the way that their innate powers work. But you're basically doing a little bit of area control cooperatively, trying to stop the settlers from colonizing the island, blighting it up, tearing everything down, and destroying basically your home. And it's very tough to win. But it is an extremely deep, extremely interesting experience where every move that you make has to be done in conjunction with the other people you're playing with. For you're kind of controlling this aspect of the game where you have to rely on them to clear up this aspect, but you have to help each other and trade off every now and then. But it's very difficult, very hard to play. But man, I'm really digging it. I think that this is a fantastic game. And here's my claim right now. Last year, Millennium Blades kind of came out of nowhere, and everybody loved it. Everyone thought it was excellent. And even though a lot of people were very skeptical of it, under the radar, it kind of was like a hidden gem. This game, Spirit Island, is going to be the hidden gem of 2017. I guarantee it. It's going to be the one that every heavy gamer is going to be like, I don't think so. And when they play it, they're going to be like, there's really something here. Wow. Spirit Island is great.
It looks really good. That's all I can say about it.
Is it going to be at Gen Con, do you know?
Yes, it is going to be released at Gen Con.
Oh, wow. So, when was this supposed to be released? Because you mentioned it was Kickstarter delayed and all that.
Man, this Kickstarter was like, I remember seeing it. I had backed it on Kickstarter 2 years. I had been backed it on Kickstarter 2 years ago. So at so not last Gen Con, but the Gen Con before that, I had already backed it and was looking at it at Gen Con. So it's been over 2 years that it's took to get into people's hands.
Good stuff, man. I want to check it out. You got me intrigued.
And it's one that your wife might really, really like because it's cooperative, so she doesn't have to feel like she's like getting beat down the entire time by you, you know?
No, I'm not that good, man.
But no, I don't know. It's got a lot of words going against it. Theme, beautiful art, and again, for heavy gamers, yeah, miniatures, cooperative, like all of these things, you know, power cards, all of these things just kind of working, asymmetrical powers, all these things that nobody wants to hear in the heavy game world. But man, it overcomes that and is beautiful in spite of all of those things. It is a great game. Check it out, Spirit Island. But yeah, let's keep it rolling. I know I kind of took a lot of time there, but I just wanted to definitely preface myself so people would at least listen. But Clay, go ahead and tell us about another game that you've been playing.
So my buddies and I got together for the first time, and I don't know, it's been before Gen Con, and just had a cookout, and I just felt like playing something chill, nothing too heavy, and so we busted out Wagon. This is an old ADC Blackfire. Uli Blinneman published it under that name, and Stronghold picked it up, I think, a year later. And this is a Matthias Kramer game, and it's very reminiscent of Glenmore with the rondel of action selection. Basically, what you're doing is you're like at the beginning of the automotive industry, cars, and you're trying to sell them to different types of people. Some people like to buy like the best engine in the car. Some people want the best body, the lowest price, that kind of thing. And it's a lot of different mechanics going on, but it's a medium weight game, and it was a 3-player game, and I like that game, man. Matthias Kramer, that whole rondel system he's got going on is beautiful, especially in that game. I've never played Glenmore, but I heard this game has a little bit more to offer than Glenmore because it's got like a little bit of a there's like 2 different things that are going on that you have to worry about aside from the actual rondel. But it was a good time, man. Just a nice medium game.
So Glenmore's better.
Ooh. So, okay, it has that rondel mechanic where kind of the actions come from the back to the front, right? Like, you know, like the actions.
Like if you choose this like super awesome action that's like 10 spots ahead, you know you're not going to be going for a long time because everybody else has to catch up to you. Whoever's in last will select the next action.
You know what other game does that is amazing is Shipyard. Have you played Shipyard?
No, but that's like rondel heaven. Apparently, there's a ton of different rondels going on. But yeah, Vladimir Suchi did that. Yeah. 3.
It's 3 simultaneous rondels. It might even be 4. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's 3. It's 4 rondels because there's the rondel inside of the rondel in that one.
Oh, that's right, the double rondel. Yeah.
I heard you like rondels in your rondels.
Right.
But no.
How much more is that a more complex game than?
Way more.
But okay. I don't think Shipyard is that heavy. I think it's a pretty easy going in. I've heard people have told me that Shipyard kind of puts Glenmore and Wagon like to shame, and because it does very similar things, and it just puts it to shame. And I have Shipyard and I love it, so I've never sought out playing those other games.
Let me just talk about Wagon. What makes it really good is as you're building your cars, you have different research points to be able to build bigger and better engines or bigger and better bodies. There's a certain action that you get to select who goes to the market, like what customer is coming out there to buy the cars in the market. And that is such a fun mechanic because as you're building your engine up, you might not want to pick the guy that's going to go out for the engine because somebody might be able to undercut you in price or something like that. There's a lot of dynamic with how people are playing in the game, and that is super cool. In that, I don't know if Shipyard does that or not, but that's what I like about Crop.
I don't know. So I just looked at the weights just out of curiosity because my memory was that Shipyard is quite a bit heavier than both Wagon and Glenmore, and so we're talking just use the BGG ratings or BGG weights for a second. 2.6 on Glenmore, 2.84 on Wagon, and then 3.84 on Shipyard.
Shit. Wow, that's a big jump. I need to check out Shipyard, then I might buy it right now.
Hold on. It might have been 3.48. 1 second. I might be drawing a blank, but yeah, sorry, 3.48, but still 0.6 difference between the two.
Yeah, it's 0.6. Okay.
So all I can say about that though is, Clay, if I need to buy a really good body, I know where to go.
Right here, baby. I love it. Mustard Gouda, bringing it in.
Oh man, we haven't done this in a long time. I miss it.
You're the awesome. Yeah, and it's all your fault.
It's actually my fault. It's my fault.
But no, really excited. I mean, that's awesome. It's good that you're able to get like even a good medium weight Euro out with your friends.
I told my guys, I was like, man, I've been so slammed with like Gen Con and Essen prep. I just need something like just mellow. I just want to grill some burgers and have a good time. And so we just busted that game out and we played Libertalia after that. And I mean, that was the night. It was fun. So
very cool.
But, yeah.
All right, Ryan, go ahead and lead us into your next game because I want to get on this because I've gotten to play of this in recently too.
What did I write third? Oh yeah, I played Three Kingdoms Redux, which was actually I think my first full play of the game actually because I had played part of it before but never had a chance to finish it. So I played as Shu, so I started out weak. I played because it was green. That's why I played Shu. Which is going to be hard for me because I play green, so apparently I'm always going to play Shu. But no, I'll switch it up. But anyhow, that game's awesome. If anybody doesn't know about it, it's a auction kind of game, worker placement / bidding auction type of thingamajigger that goes on for the actions that you can take in the game, and you have different generals or leaders that you use in order to bid on these spaces. With their, I think it's, it's their military prowess or the combat ability and their diplomacy. Is that the right word, Clay? I always forget what the actual words are, but it's something along those lines.
Administrative and military.
Yeah. It's basically military and diplomacy is what it is. But and it's a strictly 3-player game, no more, no less. And each player starts out, it's asymmetric, so each player starts out at a different level of ability. One kind of stronger, one middling, and one weaker. And that dynamic shifts throughout the game. And when it shifts, the 2 players that are at the lower end of that power spectrum at the current time will have a kind of alliance for one of these spaces that you can take to try and work against the stronger player. But anyhow, it's mostly worker placement in that aspect, but there's also some small combat aspect that goes on. It's also a bid with some armies that you can add in. And there's several different ways you can end the game with military points or with taking over 5 different of the whatever the hell they're called borderland spaces, and or by finishing all of the development of your technology in your area, your own particular area that helps you pay for your armies as you go. And so the interesting part of that game is the dynamic of figuring out how you kind of manage that transition from either strong to weak or weak to strong, or being kind of middling throughout the whole game in order to pace yourself in a way where at the end of the game you have more points than everybody else. And I really like it. It's hard to get to the table a little bit because it is exactly 3 players. But if you have exactly 3 players who play heavy games, this is the game.
3 Kingdoms is really fantastic. I mean, so much of that game relies on the fact that everybody's deck does such different things, and the generals that you draw can combo together in such interesting ways. And I think that that's probably one of the most fascinating things about the game is just how those generals can interact with each other and how you can pull off some really crazy combos in the way that you activate your generals as you take your actions.
I had so much rice and gold. You have no idea how much rice and gold I had. It just I didn't ever take any because I'm just like, I don't rice and gold.
I just have all that. Well, I'm the worst shoe player, dude. I cannot play that.
So I had the one wherever you take popular support action, you get a rice and a gold first.
Oh my God.
I can't remember which one that is, but nobody else took popular support the entire game. So I was like,
yeah, because it's you just get one little guy. I mean, one little popular support,
and
thing.
you have to pay for them once you get some.
Well, not if you get the general that says you don't have to pay for up to 4 of them.
And I guess you had that one too.
I did, and also that you get to keep one. I also had something that says you get to keep one every time you use it. So I was like,
that's your main guy, yeah.
Popular support, popular support.
So
that's awesome.
I've played this game like 6 times now, and I have played it enough to accomplish my one goal of winning as Wei, Wu, and Shu.
Wow.
And
Nice.
That's like, I was like, I'm gonna play this until I can win as Wei, and then I'm gonna play it as Wu until I win as Wu, and then I'm gonna play it as Shu until I win as Shu. And I love this freaking game, man. This game is so
really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
People need
so
to
balance.
People need to get over the whole 3-player thing and just quit inviting 18 people to your game days. Invite 2 other people to a game day so you can play this game. It's not that hard, guys. You know,
It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard.
I don't think so.
I don't think so at all.
Sorry, one last thing. And I also had the card that you build that lets you get rid of popular support tokens for extra rice and gold.
Oh, that's where the rice came from. Okay.
Yeah. So it was ridiculous. I'm just swimming in rice and gold, and I'm like,
I don't know what to do with it.
I will say, I think the strategy to winning a shoe is to not let people see what you're doing, but focus on the other stuff that they are not focused on. So let Wei and Wu battle each other out for the big actions, and you just sneak in and take the other actions. Be like, they're not fighting for Emperor. I'll take Emperor this time. I'll keep moving up my my little tribal support, meter at the bottom. Just kind of keep doing all of that, small side stuff.
I disagree with you a little bit. At least that doesn't have to be how it works, because I had 0 points in tribal relations. I was in the Emperor race, but I actually had a military victory with Shu.
See, but I will say that's the hardest thing, though, because with Shu having so few generals,
I know
putting your generals out early is not a good, solid strategy.
I don't disagree with you, but two players, both of the other players had a guy out before I did, but then I put one out with twice as many armies as everybody else, and started scoring points a lot faster. So,
yeah, I could see that. But it definitely does come into those things. I think you can win not doing military at all, but you have to be very, very good at doing everything else, because military is a bulk of the points in that game.
I agree. It was mostly military for me, but every time I placed a general, I placed him with at least 2 armies. So I've got a controversial game I want to talk about today. So I played a game that a lot of the people that I respect their opinions on games, and I listen to what they say about games, and when they recommend a game, I'm all over it.
I played a game that came out from GMT recently called Time of Crisis. A lot of people that I have been talking, that I follow on Twitter and that are friends, I consider them good people, and that definitely I think are, very highly astute when it comes to the type of games they like, are saying Time of Crisis is the best game that's come out in many, many, many years. And I mean, they are all about it. And I played it. I saw it. Somebody had it, a guy that's really into GMT games where I live. And I, saw he had a copy, and I was like, oh, I've been hearing about this. I've got to play it. So we got it all set up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, I'm super excited. And we start playing it, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm trying to figure out the strategies. And like halfway through the game, I'm like trying to engineer a plan to do stuff. And then all of a sudden, handful of dice, and my plan gets effed. And then, so I keep doing some more stuff, and then I'm like, okay, well, that kind of sucked, but, okay, I'm still focused on this thing, so maybe I'll try to make this work, and hey, sometimes random events can happen, and then, randomly a bunch of barbarians invade my spot, and I'm screwed. Got to try to figure some more stuff out, try to do some stuff. All right, well, I'm the emperor of Rome now, because this game takes place where, it's all the generals trying to decide who's going to be the emperor of Rome, with the barbarian tribes kind of closing in. And so I work my way up, and I become the emperor of Rome, and I'm the emperor of Rome time after time, and I've built my support up. And then somebody's like, oh, well, I'm just going to roll 50 dice in your face and get, like, all of these votes and kick you out of Rome. And I didn't know... I did know how I felt. I hated this game. I thought it was bad, like just terrible. So what this game is it's like a card-driven war game, very akin to like a Twilight Struggle or something in that nature. It's a war game that you're really, and it's not so much a war game because people that are war gamers are going to say, oh, it's not a war game, but it's a war type game. It's very much in that card-driven war game like a Twilight Struggle is. But in this game, it's a deck builder, but you get to choose what cards. There's only 9 cards in the whole game besides your starting basic cards. So it's very easy. It's, there's yellow cards that do yellow actions, blue cards that do blue actions, red cards that do red actions. And so there's like military actions, political actions, and then like economic actions. And then there's just special powers that the 2, 3, and 4 cards have. So there's only 9 cards you can add to your hand, but every round you get to choose what cards go into your hand until you cycle through your discard pile and then put it back in, and then you're all fresh. But you get to choose every round what cards. There's no randomness in what you draw. It's not like Dominion where you're just stuck with what you draw. You actually get to choose the cards you get. But what that leads to is somebody might flip their deck when you're running your deck out, and they might get to choose like, oh, I'm going to choose all of my vote cards, and I'm going to throw like 18 votes down, and there's nothing you can do about it. Here's, 15 fistful of dice in your face against what you thought you were going to do. And you're just kind of sitting there like, well, I can't defend against that. And then people are like, oh, if you plan better, you can't plan against having 24 dice rolled. And it has exploding dice too. So every time a 6 is rolled, you roll again. And so when you're rolling like 15 dice, you roll it, and there's like 4 6s, so it's like, oh, then I'll roll all those again, and then I'll roll all those again. And it's just got to the point where I was like, it's just a game of just beating up whoever's in the lead and tearing them down so that they're in the lead, and then they're going to get beat up by the next guy that flips his deck and gets all of his cards available, and then the next guy that flips his deck gets all of his cards available, and it's just cycling, and basically whoever doesn't get beat up by the barbarians the least is going to have the easiest time because he doesn't have to deal with, exterior things happening. He just focused on executing his plan. And it was one of those things that when I got done playing with it, I was like, there's so much randomness, random events, so much dice rolling, so much just, oh, you're in the lead, I'm going to attack you, and there's nothing you can do about it, that I just got done with it. And I was like, why do people like this game so much? Why is everyone talking about this game so awesome? And I'm just like, oh, whatever. I was over it. I was over it before the game ended.
How long was that beast?
It wasn't terrible. I mean, it took like 3.5 hours with teaching.
No,
so
I'd pass on it. I'm just gonna be honest.
What?
I mean, just from what I said, yeah, I'd pass it. Just from what you said on it, I don't like the dice in games where you're rolling and using it to I mean, that's like Risk. I don't know. I just doesn't sit well with me. Sorry.
So, okay, so a couple of things is I want to get out of here. Don't just take my word for it, because I don't think I like war games at all. I like heavy Euros. I like 18xx. I like economic games. I don't think I like war games in that style at all, because I had the same reaction to Sekigahara. I was just like, no, I hate this game, you know? Like, so that's something, and that's supposed to be another one that people really like. But people that are into this genre, like Travis Hill from Low Player Count and Cole Worley, these guys are talking about this game like it is one of the best games that they've ever played. But I've got to say that if you find your taste very similar to mine, I would be very weary about going out into this game with super high expectations, because I found this game a miserable slog of a game, mostly just due to the random amount of dice that were chucked to do different things. It was annoying.
If dice are going to be used to determine like the result of my actions, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Dice are bad.
Dice are bad.
Dice suck. Who plays with dice?
Who invented dice?
So dumb.
That? Some dice guy.
All right. But that is Time of Crisis. Came out from GMT just recently, P500. So check it out. Clay, go ahead and talk about this new thing that you've been doing while you're sitting on the toilet.
I love the opening. Okay. Actually, I was on an airplane and decided to download the Terra Mystica Android app. And man, I'm blown away by that. I just think it's so cool how far apps have come, because I played Carcassonne for a while, and just the whole. Have you guys played the Terra Mystica app yet?
No.
On either. Okay.
No, I play real games.
Well, it's really streamlined. Oh God. I played it and it was fun. I mean, everything was laid out very nicely, and it's a heavy game. I mean, there's a lot going on in that game, and everything was readily available. All the information was there, and I had no problem playing it. And I just think, like, what's going to be next with all these like mobile games? Is that going to be a thing of the future? And it's not something. I've only played one game on it, so it's not for me. But I just think it was really neat how it was implemented to the iOS and the Android system. So
I think that's a whole different topic right there.
It is, and I like the face-to-face interaction when you're sitting at the table with people and being able to feel the components and stuff. I didn't get that same feel with the Android app, but the layout and the presentation was beautiful, and it was very intuitive to understand what was going on. You needed to know how to play the game, but it was good. I enjoyed it. So.
That's good. How many times have you played through on the Terra Mystica app? How many times have you played through it?
A solid one. Just one.
So this is not thorough. This is an in-depth, thorough review. Yeah.
So, like, I played the Giants, the red. I usually play the Chaos Mages, but I'll play the Giants, and it was really tough. But the digital system is not for me. I like the interaction with people at the table. But like I said, the layout and the presentation, the way the game flowed was very flawless. It was perfect. I mean, I picked up the game and I played a whole game on the plane and made time go by pretty quickly. But it just didn't have the same experience as sitting at the table with people. But other than that, though, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I hate app games. I really do. I've tried several of them, and I just can't do it. Like, I'd rather just get on BGG and just dick around, or just be on Twitter and talk to people on my phone if I'm going to have to sit somewhere on my phone rather than actually just play an app. It's just not for me.
I get that. I get that. When you're on a plane in the sky, I mean, I just like, I don't have anything to do. So it was okay. I mean, it's not my thing, like you said.
I will say doing my 18xx games over Slack gives me a very similar feeling to being around a table. And 18xx is probably the one genre of game where you can literally make one move a day and still feel like you're doing something, because like there's a lot that goes into it. But I mean, it really is the only way I've ever found playing asynchronously that actually works. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that's the Terra Mystica app. Clay says don't buy it.
No, I say I like it. I like it
trash
ever.
I think it's a next step for like heavier games being implemented into the mobile app platform. I know Brass is there. I've never played Brass, so
Brass app sucks.
Yeah, I need to play it first because I have it, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, let me ask you guys this real quick, okay? What would be your if a board game could be made into an app, what do you think the best board game app would be? What would be your dream board game app?
Something light. It's not going to take a lot of time. I mean, Dominant Species is out there, and that's a fantastic game, but I would never play the app. Just not as fun.
Thank you for not answering the question, Ryan.
I also don't have an answer. I don't want any games on mobile.
See, if there was one game I could play on mobile, I think it would be Roads and Boats. I think Roads and Boats could be implemented really well as an app because it's completely, you play it pretty much at the same time, but it's so fiddly on the table that I think doing a digital version might actually benefit that game in some ways. So,
I'd do something light.
Something light. All right. So
maybe it's already there though. So
is there a T2 app?
Oh yeah.
That doesn't seem like it'd be good.
It's not bad. Don't use the AI though. They're awful. So
all right. So we're going to get into one of our favorite segments after we're done talking about the games we've been playing. And we're going to just kind of geek out for a minute about different stuff, kind of not necessarily gaming related, but just different stuff that what's going on in our life. Because this is the geek out segment where we just kind of get to talk about whatever we feel like. But me and Clay are going to be talking about the same thing. How good is Game of Thrones right now?
Holy shit. Oh my God. I literally just got done watching the fourth episode that we're on now, and wow, man, it's finally here, dude. I love it. It's so good.
Every episode this season has been so good.
It's been phenomenal. This one has been a cinematic masterpiece, I think. Just the way this episode, when you watch the fourth episode, this is like proof that TV shows are better than movies. They can be more epic. No, they can be more epic. They're the same quality, especially if it's on HBO. No Showtime bullshit. It's got to be HBO. But the quality of filming and the way the acting is just so phenomenal. I think it's a lot better than movies. I mean, you just can't have an epic story like this going to the movie theater.
Yeah, I mean, and also just because of the TV show nature of it, you can get more invested out of, 7 seasons of a show than you can in, an hour and a half of a movie, So there is that going into it as well. But yeah, this season has been incredible. Everything is building up exactly the way that I've wanted it to. Like all the culmination of everything is just so beautifully happening. It's so good. And you're just on the edge of your seat.
I'm an episode behind, but so far what I've seen is very good. I'll give it that.
But you've at least seen... I don't think this is like spoiler territory because you've seen this one, but I don't even think people that haven't seen it.
Spoiler alert.
Sure, whatever. But that boat battle was really good. Like I thought it was really good. And so
yeah, it was good.
I've really been enjoying it. I think Game of Thrones has been phenomenal. So my wife actually just got all caught up on all the episodes. So I watched it without her for a while because we had opposite schedules for a while. But she just went back through to watch the new episodes and watched like over the last 3 weeks every single episode, and she really is enjoying it. So
did you watch it with her? Or were you like, no, I'm beyond that. I am on season 7.
I watched it when we were in the room. It's not like I didn't make her wait to watch it with me, but I watched it with her when I was home. So
yeah, I would too, man. There's a lot of good content out there from the last few seasons. It's been a ride, and it's awesome, and I love it.
But it was so funny though because she watched the first 2 episodes of the new season that came out, and then she watched all the old stuff, and so it's so funny for her because she was like all of these people that she was like, oh wait a minute, I guess I can tell how this. Wait, didn't wait a minute, you know, like all of this like weird stuff that she saw in like the 2 newest episodes, and then like having to go back and watch all of the build up towards that. She's like, oh, so that's how Arya did that, you know, like really cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
interesting. It's a fantastic show, though, man. I absolutely love it. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I did not like the first few seasons. I mean, I liked it, but I wasn't in love with the show. My favorite shows are like Mad Men, and True Detective is another good show. And Game of Thrones was good, but it wasn't like, this is awesome. And then the episode where Jon Snow, it's like in season 5 or 6, when he sees the White Walker army and the dude raises his hands up, I was like, all right, I'm sold. This show's awesome, dude. I freaking love it. And I was sold ever since. Yeah, because it's all been like bickering and fighting between all the different houses and stuff like that.
That's the best part.
I mean, that is why the show is called Game of Thrones.
It is, but like when you have that external element coming at you and nobody's prepared, everybody else is dicking around with each other, and you got this external element that's about to come in. It's so, like, yes.
So you just want to watch Walking Dead then?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, Walking Dead season 1. Let's not talk about that show. That's another topic that I can just dog on all day.
All right, Ryan, talk about your thing.
Yeah, that nobody cares about apparently. Well, some of us read in addition to watching television. So I'm talking about,
it's
books,
like
actual books
for your eyes, Ryan.
It is.
Aren't books for my eyes? I'm confused. Anyhow, I've been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson books recently, so this is not a new thing because I've been reading them for years now, but I'm on another kick. I don't know if either of you know who Brandon Sanderson is.
Wheel of Time dude, right?
Well, no, Robert Jordan is Wheel of Time dude. Brandon Sanderson is guy who finished Wheel of Time when Robert Jordan died. So he finished the last several books of the Wheel of Time series. But
he's wearing a leather jacket in this picture. I don't know if I can trust this guy.
Yeah. But he also wrote has several of his own fantasy lines. One was called Mistborn, which actually there's a Gen Con game releasing this year in the Mistborn universe. That's a diplomacy style Euro game, I believe. But he has that. He has the Stormlight Archives, which are like his high fantasy epic series. He has a book series that I'm just starting called Alcatraz, which is not about prison, but is about a boy who apparently has a magical ability to break things that he doesn't know that he has. It's just, he has very interesting world development skills. And so I'm kind of reading through all of his works, and there's a larger universe that he has that ties several of them together. Which it will be interesting to see how that develops as things progress, and he kind of ties the different lines together. So all in all, really good books. Very excited to continue reading them. And so far, pretty much everything I've read by him is awesome, except for maybe Steelheart and those books. But yeah, all good stuff.
So I haven't read much fantasy books in a while, but is he the guy that did the what do they call it? The Kingslayer Chronicles? Is that what?
No,
it's called?
That's Patrick Rothfuss. He's from Wisconsin. So.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right.
They are different people is the answer to your question.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking. I've heard people say those books are really amazing, but
those are also very good. But he is the world's slowest releaser of new material. Patrick Rothfuss is
even more than Mr. Martin himself.
Yeah,
I think the record, it's close at this point in time. The last book in his series was in like 2011, so I don't know when the last Game of Thrones book came out.
All right. Well, that's Ryan for you on Wisconsin natives and fantasy authors. All right.
That's right.
So we'll go ahead and get moving right along. The Darwin Awards are given out to individuals singling themselves out of human selection since 1985. One of the most famous accounts was given to an Arizona pre-med student who brought his girlfriend out to a hill overlooking Tucson, hoping the romantic scenery would lead to a little luck. His plan working, neither member of the couple noticed the storm clouds overhead. as lightning struck the highest part of the hill, which happened to be the man's bare buttocks. The energy surged through him and into his date, stopping her heart instantly and also causing the latex barrier joining the couple to melt, fusing the two together. As he tried to pull away, he passed out from the surge of pain. He was awakened to find his now deceased lover's face, only inches from his own, being consumed by a roaming black bear. After several minutes, while the bear ate her face, he lost interest and moved along. The man began a very slow journey back to town, carrying his corpse of his now conjoined counterpart. He managed to survive only because a mere few miles from the tragic incident, he was happened upon by a troop of Girl Scouts and was able to get medical attention. The Darwin Award was awarded to this man for making himself one single human being that would no longer go on to infect the human race. Now, while random events can make for morbidly amusing stories, many gamers feel that they have no place in their strategy board games. Dice being the main culprit of the randomness you will find in games today, the Deep End analyzes the rotating recurrence of randomness and shines the spotlight on dice.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Okay, so I have a question, because in theory, he doesn't necessarily qualify for a Darwin Award unless he was rendered sterile. So
yes,
he was. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So and he hadn't already procreated, which I'm assuming he must not have. So
this was actually one of the most famous Darwin Awards that has ever been given out, was by this man. I just think it's the funniest thing is he actually killed, the lightning strike killed her, and when he woke up from being passed out, there was literally a bear eating her right next to him. It was absolutely insane. But then he couldn't remove himself, so he literally had to carry her dead body. And who would have happened to have found him but a troop of Girl Scouts?
Of course, why not?
It's almost to the fact where you can't make that up. So very, very interesting stuff. Darwin Awards, go look it up. Lots of funny stuff that you can see there. But today we're going to talk about randomness, all right? Dice and randomness in games. Mostly we're going to be talking about dice, but I did want to kind of open the floor up to just talk a little bit about randomness in games overall. How we feel about it, how we think it's best implemented, but just kind of what part randomness has to play in the board games that we happen to enjoy. So Clay, I am actually very curious, as somebody who kind of looks at games, analyzing them from a publisher perspective, what kind of thoughts that you think randomness actually has to do with games, and how you actually think that it would actually help, or in what ways it might detract from a game being good?
For me, this is on a personal level. I do not like randomness. It makes me mad when I'm playing a game, especially like if it's a game where you're stripped of all your resources and you need to build up your engine, and all of a sudden, oh, you rolled a 2. Sorry, but you lost all that stuff you just built up for. You're set back eons behind everybody else. Like that's, I don't like that at all. Randomness to me is okay if it's effective to everybody at the table. If it's like a third part, or like a third party that just kind of like, hey, this event happens and it affects everybody at the table in different ways. Kind of like a make lemons or make lemonade out of lemons kind of deal, like where you have what you are presented with, make the best of what you got. That randomness is okay to me. It's just when it comes to a die roll, I hate that. It's a cheap way of doing it to me. That's my opinion. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say too.
I'm very curious to see what Ryan thinks about this concept, mostly because Ryan, I know, prefers heavier games and kind of made a lot of a name for himself reviewing games for going for the games that have less randomness in them, the heavier titles. But I am very curious because he's probably analyzed this a bit more internally than he ever has kind of voiced it. But I'm actually very curious as a reviewer how he's come about the feelings of randomness in the game, how he kind of feels about that concept.
Sure. Actually, I think I may have talked about it before, but it's been a while. So let me say that first, randomness is absolutely required in any board game, period. There must be some random element. That random element doesn't have to be substantial. It doesn't have to be continual. It doesn't have to be any major portion of anything, but something must be either random or unpredictable.
Every game has randomness, right? Every game has randomness.
It has to. If it doesn't have any randomness, it's not a game. If it has no randomness, it is a puzzle because it can be solved. Any game must have randomness, and that randomness can be something as simple as the player order is random at the start of the game, or the actions of the other players are not predictable by you. It may not be the classical definition of random, right? But it's still not something that you can account for. So in the terms of predictability, it's a random event.
In a way, it's something that you have to react to.
Correct.
If it's not necessarily pure randomness, it's something that you have to react to.
Right. And so while what you're doing in the game isn't necessarily random, right? I can narrow it down to a subset of possible actions of things that you might do. That subset is still somewhat random in that I don't know for certainty which one you're going to choose, right? I like a little bit of, I require a little bit of randomness in my game, but I prefer that randomness to be something that can be mitigated. And as long as there is a substantial way for me to mitigate the randomness that is included in the game, whether it be planning in advance for a variety of different options to say, if it goes this way, I can do this, and if it goes this way, I can do this, and that actually being a viable option and strategy towards winning the game. Or if it is a matter of, say, for example, mitigating a die roll to say, I'm going to roll this die, but when that die is rolled, I'm not necessarily stuck with the value that occurs there. Or there are multiple dice that I can choose from, or I can modify the dice, or there are several ways that I can use it. Those are all things that are okay with me, and I think that we'll see discussed in several ways as we go through the process of talking about our favorite dice games that we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, so as far as randomness in the game goes, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not so much a fan of games that have quote-unquote random events that pop up. That's not something that I'm very much adjoined to or enjoy. It's not really something where dice are rolled and stuff happens or things are triggered because of those dice rolls, because I don't find that very enjoyable. Although it might be thematic or add an element of surprise to the game, that's not really what I'm looking for when I sit down at a game. And I know that one of the biggest arguments out there is input randomness versus output randomness is kind of like the big kind of swirling mass. And it's really hard to get kind of a firm definition of that. But I guess the way I would define that in input randomness versus output randomness is input randomness is basically what I would consider the good kind of randomness, where a random event might happen, like a handful of dice are rolled, and everyone at the table is subject to what those dice rolled are. So this might be like a worker placement dice game where all of the dice are rolled and I have to select what dice I want and you have to select what dice. So we all have the same pool of dice, but the dice being rolled at the beginning subject us all to what randomness is out there in the game. Whereas output randomness is where when the dice are rolled, it will affect you in different ways because of what the dice rolled, what was kind of what came up on their faces. And I think that that's kind of that idea behind, I can't really control what happens, but at least it's affecting everyone the same way. It's not I roll a dice and Clay rolls a dice and my dice fails and his dice does good, because that's what is output randomness, and that's not going to be something I'll enjoy in a game. I also enjoy
what you said.
I also enjoy the aspect of randomness where there might be a random aspect to the game, something that you cannot fully control, but something that you can mitigate to almost a perfect degree. And I think Orleans is a good concept of this. You can't control every single draw that you take out of that bag for your workers. You're going to draw a certain amount of workers out of that bag, and you're going to, have those workers to deal with. But You get to decide how much of what kind of worker go into your bag. So you have a huge kind of just, percentage-wise ability to control what percentages are going to come out there. If you put 5 blue workers into that bag, there might be 10 workers in there, but you know that before you get to the end of that bag, 5 blue workers will come out. You can also cull workers. So there's a way to kind of get rid of workers that are in the bag and kind of make it so it's an easier draw for the things that you're looking for. And then there's also ways to just like mitigate it so that you're able to draw more to increase the probabilities of what you're getting. And I like
missed it. What game are we talking about? I didn't hear it.
Orleans.
Okay.
And I think I think that's a good game to give you an idea of what kind of control that you can have when there is a random element. I don't know what kind of workers I'm going to get, but I have so much control on the probability of what's coming out that I don't ever feel like I'm just getting screwed because I can't get this one guy. And so I think that if you're going to have output randomness, that you need to give the players at least a strong feeling of control over the probabilities of what that randomness is going to have in store for them. So, but that's kind of my thoughts, I guess, on randomness as a whole. But we're going to particularly talk about dice. So we are going to do our top 5 dice games. But before we get into kind of our list, I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what your likes and dislikes are when it comes to dice games. So Clay, I'm going to kick it back to you, but just kind of talk about in general how you feel about dice.
I just want to say you guys have a lot more articulate thoughts than I do on this whole subject.
Clay's like, dice are bad.
I appreciate your comments on the whole randomness deal, and I echo the same sentiments or similar sentiments really, because I do like games where randomness affecting the whole group. I like that effect, but for me, dice in general, I was actually talking to my wife about this. I was like, man, I don't have a lot of dice games. There's not a whole lot. Few of them that I do like are of the more like medium heavy style games, but a lot of them I don't care for that much, and it just makes me wonder if it's the randomness that's involved with the dice roll that's prevalent in that type of game. I'm not used to playing a lot of dice games with where the dice can be mitigated. I know Castles of Burgundy is a really good example of that. But in general, I don't have a lot of. I guess for me, if dice are involved, it's a party game or it's really light, like a Camel Up. Strike is really good. Deep Sea Adventure is another dice game I like. But Strike, I love that game, dude.
No, it's a good game. But I mean, come on,
it's a good. If you're at a bar, it's awesome. But yeah. I'm just saying, like, for me, like, if dice are involved, it's probably going to be a lighter style, like, just, fanfare style game. That's just the kind of player I am. And let me hear what your guys' thoughts are, because I feel like you guys are going to have a lot more deeper discussion on that than I will. So, let's roll the red carpet out. Let's roll it out, baby.
I don't know if I have a whole lot to say that I didn't already say in my whole randomness ordeal. I think it does kind of harken back a little bit to what Joe said in terms of the input and output randomness, and that in almost every case, output randomness, in my opinion, is bad, right? I don't want to be directly affected by the result of a die and have that carry out some type of an event that I have no say over, with almost every instance of that being true. Almost. And I'll say that I make a few exceptions for this in the games of Blood Bowl, where there is a heavy, and I don't care what anybody says, I know it's an Ameritrash game, but if you play Blood Bowl properly, that game is 100% about mitigating bad decisions. Or not mitigating, but organizing your decisions in such a way where you can deal with bad results towards the end of things. And so that game still takes it to the point where you can plan out all these great series of things. However, there's still the output randomness of if you roll terribly, you will fail at everything you do in Blood Bowl. The other game that is along those lines is Imperial Assault, and it gets a pass because of Star Wars.
Such a terrible. I hate that game. Oh my god.
Wow. You're awful. Star Wars is amazing.
The storyline
but
is
anyhow,
good, but
yeah. I just played it yesterday. I lost, but whatever. I get so angry at it while I'm losing too, and that's I think the real problem is that I get fucking angry. I'm just so angry at the dice.
That's why I don't
like.
like
God
it.
damn it! God damn it! My odds are so much better than this, but apparently they're not. And so I think that's really what makes me frustrated with dice is that if it's an output randomness, there's no control, and that's I know that's what random means, but that's irritating to me because I like order, even if it's out of chaos. So.
And I'm not sure I've defined those properly. I'm just going to say, because I'm not exactly sure, like, is input randomness where you roll a dice and something happens, or is output randomness where dice are rolled and it affects everyone? So I've defined...
I was just using your terminology.
Right. So I'm just letting everyone know so I can avoid, like, the Twitter storm of people being like, that's not how that's defined. I defined it, and I don't know if the definitions are matched with the proper term that the greater board game community use. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now. So if you want to send an angry Twitter comment, I don't care.
You guys go straight to hell. Yeah.
So anybody that wants to get
nailed it.
Anyone that wants to get up in arms, yeah.
There's two different spectrums there, and you hit the nail on the head.
So the one thing I will say about dice is, first of all, I like dice from a component standpoint because dice are cool and dice are fun. Because, like, rolling dice is fun. There's something to that is, like, humanly pleasing to me to, like, roll dice. Or to, like, I've played Liar's Dice a few times, and to throw a bunch of dice in a cup and shake it and throw dice is fun. I mean, there's something really, like, enjoyable about the process of that. I like cool engraved custom dice in games. I think it's great. I do not like games that require you to sticker 50 dice. I'm going to throw that out there, okay? Not naming any names. We've talked about that right there. But I will say there's something cool about dice. I do not really enjoy games where dice rolling is the main part of what I'm doing. And we're going to do our top 5 games that we enjoy. And I almost think of it in spite of the dice. But there is one thing I will say that I do give a pass to, and that is push your luck games. I love a good freaking push your luck game. I think push your luck games are phenomenal. And Clay, you brought it up. I think Deep Sea Adventure is, I don't care if it's all about dice. That is one of the funnest, most enjoyable gaming experiences that you can pack into that amount of time. And I don't care how badly you get screwed by those dice. It's still fun. So I give push your luck games, and none of those are going to be on my list because this is going to be heavy games that have dice that I enjoy in spite of the dice. But I really think that push your luck games just get a full-on pass from this. So absolutely. But we're going to get right into our top 5 dice games. Real quick before you name whichever one, I don't know if there's an order to yours. Mine are specifically ordered from 5 to 1. If you guys just kind of said, these are my top 5 and they're in whatever order, that's fine too. But just kind of give us an idea of how your list was made and how you kind of went about going about making your list. Because I'm sure we all have a little bit of uniqueness to why we put different things on our list. So Clay, go ahead, tell us a little bit about your list and then what your number 5 is.
I'm not going to do like the 5 to 1. These are games that are just kind of like...
Loser.
Fake list. Fake list.
Oh, I actually did it. I got it. I got a list. It's not fake news, guys. It's not fake news.
Are you going to reorder it so that it's 5 to 1 now?
It is 5 to 1. Okay, so number 5. God damn it! I hate you guys right now because.
Is it Concordia? Age of Steam.
Okay, so this is not 5 to 1 at the beginning. At the end, it will be, but. Number 5, I'm going to put Twa because that was the first dice game that I was like, I absolutely love this. The dice drafting mechanic is amazing in games. What's great about Twa is it's the community pool that you have access to of all the dice, but you also have to worry about the AI or whatever coming to attack everybody and take away dice. and that stupid annoying. You have to build the what is it? You have to build the structure or whatever it is. That you have to waste dice on as well. But that game is phenomenal, and I don't. It actually just got reprinted, I think. But
It's a cathedral,
Troyes,
by the way.
whatever. It's in the city of Troyes, so
France.
it's there. It's been built and it's good to go. So,
Yep.
whatever.
Am I next?
Real quick on the subject of Troyes, I heard one of the most amazing antidotes about board games on the subject.
Anecdotes, not antidotes.
Anecdotes on board
Troyes.
game on Troyes, but there was a Facebook conversation about people playing board games, and one guy was saying, "Have you guys seen the guy on the cover of Kalis? I hate that kind of art on board games where it's so boring looking." And then somebody commented on it and said, "Oh man, I guess you haven't seen the cover of the game Troyes." And he said, "Why, is it bad?" And he said, "No, but it's the picture that the guy on the front of Kalis put on the ceiling of his bedroom to jack off to."
Are you serious? I like that cover. It's got all three elements to the game.
So I explicitly look for games that have a boring guy on the front of them because I'm pretty sure they're going to be games that I like.
I just thought that anecdote was really funny. That like the artwork for Troyes was so boring for a game that the guy on Kalis was like, "Oh yeah."
I mean, but look, with the single guy on the cover thing, there's so many great games that just have one guy on the cover of them.
Looking angry.
Yep.
That Power Grid just has the one dude who's like, "I'm gonna push this red button."
Goa,
Kalis, Notre Dame, Goa.
Notre Dame is just a cathedral. There's no guy on Notre Dame.
Are you sure? Maybe I'm thinking the wrong game.
There's a lot
in the Year of the Dragon.
Yeah.
In the Year of the Dragon has a guy.
There's a lot of games that you might think have a guy that don't have a guy, because you can just like
Puerto Rico.
superimpose an angry guy on a lot of covers, and it would look the same.
Yep. All right. I'll do my number 5 because it's real easy. It's also Troyes. So far, Clay's list is absolutely correct.
It's an awesome list. It's a freaking awesome list.
Now, I'll also explain how I did my list. So I went and I took every game in the top 2,000 games that had dice and looked at them, and then immediately cut that down to 5 because it was so easy. So this is going to be an easy list. But yeah, Troyes at number 5. One thing you failed to mention was the fact that you can just straight up buy other people's dice from them.
Right,
I mean, like
the community dice. I mentioned the community dice.
They're not really community dice. They're your dice. People can just buy them from you without your permission. So
money is always better than dice in Troyes.
Yeah, because you're like, I don't need dice. I've got your dice and your dice if I have money. So yeah, I mean, it's all about the dice. The luck mitigation there is just have enough money to buy other people's stuff from them before they can use it. So that's why that game. It's the one game I think on my list that I don't actually own anymore. But it's one that I enjoyed. I just played it enough to get rid of it. So.
All right. So my top 5 was very hard because I don't play a lot of games with dice in them. In fact, I looked at my shelves and I pretty much had 5 or 6 games that had dice in them that weren't, something like Deep Sea Adventure. So it was not an easy list for me to put together, but I was able to find 5 that I really did enjoy. But my number 5, I went back and forth with some games, and I kind of, I guess, play a lot of the heavier games, on the podcast. At least I'm the one that's like super into the 18xx and stuff like that. But this number 5 is going to have to come with a little bit of reasoning because of it. But my number 5 is Stone Age.
That's an acceptable choice.
It is not a heavy game, but here's my reason for why Stone Age is a great game with dice is it's probably the one game that teaches you to mitigate dice more than any other, because the dice in that game are extremely mitigatable. They're very easy to figure out how the dice are going to come out, and most of the time it's exactly how you position yourself to do it. Like if you take a big risk, you might get screwed over really bad in that one. But if you make it so that if you really need something and you stack up your workers in one spot, you're probably going to get paid out pretty well, or at least what you expect to, based on the odds. The other thing is, I think Stone Age is the best game to introduce people into gaming with. Throw Ticket to Ride out, throw Carcassonne in the garbage, and Catan, throw it out the window. Use Stone Age as the gateway game to get people into gaming, because I think Stone Age has more going on, but is easy enough to grasp, and it is a better stepping stone to heavier Euros. I think it is so much easier to go Stone Age to a Vita Lacerda game than it is to go Ticket to Ride to an 18xx game. Definitely.
One caveat on that: Stone Age is out of print. So, I said one caveat is that Stone Age it's like super out of print though.
Is it really? That's amazing to me. But anyways, Stone Age is my pick, not because it's the super heavy game, but I think it is a game that teaches you to mitigate randomness really well. But also it is a very light gateway game, and this is a heavy game podcast. But I did want to mention Stone Age because we are talking about dice games that are worth playing. So that's the reason Stone Age is on my list. Clay, what's your number 4?
I'm trying to pick which one number 4 is going to be, because
while you do that,
all really good.
While you do that, Stone Age is a great game. I just excluded it because it wasn't heavy enough. So,
but you're the one that talked about Star Wars Destiny.
That's right. So Star Wars Destiny's later.
Are we talking? Okay, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Dice game, you have to like roll the dice kind of thing. Is that
no, not necessarily. Are you making your list right now?
No, I've got honorable mentions, guys.
No, so
okay.
Oh, so I didn't talk
4.
about real quick. I didn't talk about how I made my game list real quick, but I'll mention that because that might kind of. But if there are just dice in the game, I excluded it. So like Mage Knight is a heavy game that has dice, but the dice are such an auxiliary part of the game that I didn't consider that one eligible. I chose games that specifically had dice in the game that were a major part of the way the game is played, and they had to use some kind of randomness. So like Panamax was kind of excluded because the dice don't add a lot of randomness to that game. So that was kind of the way I went about mine.
I'm going to ignore the Ruhr or Rushifart because you don't even roll the dice. They're just values. So,
I excluded Ruhr because of the exact same reason.
Yeah, so I'm going to exclude that, and we're going to go to number 4 for me would be Castles of Burgundy. Castles of Ron Burgundy is a really good game from Stefan Feld. It's probably my favorite from him. You just roll 2 dice, but there's a million different freaking ways to mitigate those dice rolls. And it's a great 2-player, 3-player game. 4 players kind of long, but at the same time, it's a classic. Everybody still talks about it. We need to do something about production quality of that game. Oh my gosh. I hate the player rat. I hate everything about the production quality of that game, but
I have a friend Zach who literally owns a $200 copy of Castles of Burgundy because he has pimped it that much.
Really? Yeah, it needs it.
Like
if they did an anniversary edition or whatever, similar to Puerto Rico, I would buy it in a heartbeat, along with 8 million other people out there.
I'd buy another copy right now.
Yep. So that's number 4 for me, Castles of Burgundy.
All right. I'm going to put another Feld game right up there at number 4. And instead of Castles of Burgundy, I'm going to say number 4 is Bora Bora, which uses a similar action selection mechanism, except for that you're placing them on mats designated for particular actions, and higher numbers give you better versions of that action. However, higher numbers are harder to place because as people place lower numbers on those mats, you may only place a number that is lower than the lowest number already on the mat. So there's a very interesting mechanism of locking people out of particular actions. But you roll, trying to think, it's 3 dice. You place them one at a time. And you're essentially manipulating one of a bajillion different actions, as always with Stefan Feld, to get points for absolutely everything you do. But there's kind of an expansion that I think is a little bit necessary. It's off of Board Game Geek that helps mitigate poor die rolling of rolling multiples of the same number, because that's a little bit difficult to deal with when if you want to take the same action and you have 3 of the same number, it's impossible to do. So there's a expansion that anytime you roll doubles, you get a little modifier that lets you go up or down 1 with a die. And if you roll triples, it gets you 2 of those modifiers. You can get it for a couple dollars from BGG. It's a really good expansion for that, just kind of mitigating the randomness. Otherwise, I would say not quite as good as Castles of Burgundy, to say a lot about my future picks. So,
my number 4 is Bora Bora. For all the reasons that Ryan just said, it's the best Feld. It's the best Feld with dice in it, and it's a great game. I like Bora Bora quite a bit. It is one of the few Felds that I would deem good enough to own. So Bora Bora.
Is that another game I got to buy now? I might have to look.
It's pretty good, but it's no Castles of Burgundy.
You're right. It is no Castles of Burgundy. It is better.
That's not true.
Dude, it's only okay. All right, $40 is a little pricey for that, but anyway. Let's talk.
The production quality is better than Castles of Burgundy.
Hey, winning.
Not much though.
All right.
Not much.
I like the tiki huts. All right, so my number 3 is another dice drafting game in the same light as Trois. It's Signorie. I think that's how you say it from What's Your
Signore?
Game. Same thing, right? I mean, that's tomato, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like anecdote and antidote.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's taken in the same vein. So that is a phenomenal dice drafting game. I enjoy that game a lot. I've only played it one time, but I had a blast. It's all about the combos. I don't really remember a lot of the gameplay, but it was a blast, and I want to play it again. So.
Hey, and if you really like it or you really want a copy, mine's currently for sale. So.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How much are you selling?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but it's for sale.
Let me. Okay. I'm sending you a message right now.
That game is decent, though. It's a What's Your Game production game, which always warrants a look at. I just didn't find it hitting the table very much, so that's why I'm not keeping it. It's not that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. So.
Okay.
All right. Number 3 for me. Right? That's where we're at. Is that correct? Is Castles of Burgundy. Surprise, surprise. Why is this game better than Bora Bora, and why is Joe wrong? It's a matter of playtime here. So and ease of accessibility, which is not necessarily in line with the focus of this podcast, which is on heavier games. If you're looking for the heavier title, totally Bora Bora. If you're looking for the most accessible title, and the quickest to play with the most interesting decisions, I'd say it's still probably Castles of Burgundy. So I don't know. Take that as you want, but I would rate Castles over Bora Bora.
Cool. Well, sorry, I had just gotten an email and I thought Signori was not good. I sold my copy as I played it like twice and I was like, yeah, this is no good.
Why is everybody selling this game? It's so good.
Don't worry, you can have mine.
Yes, I want it.
And so my number 3 is very simply Trois. I actually played this game getting ready for this episode. I hadn't played it before, but someone in my group had it, and I played it a couple of times with them, and I really dig this game. As far as a heavy game with dice goes, this is one of the best games out there, in my opinion. I think this one is incredible. I think the ways that you can mitigate the dice, I think the way the dice are used, I think how just kind of like circular all of the money versus dice gets kind of distributed throughout the course of the game, how much planning has to go into it. I think Trois, as far as dice in a heavy game go, it's hard to get better than what Trois does as far as like pure dice. And I would say it's one of the better titles out there. I have Trois higher on my list. It's number 3. So that is my number 3 Trois. So Clay, what's your number 2?
I like your assessment of Trois. It is one of the best, just pure dice games out there.
Why'd you have it at number 5? It's better than Castles of Burgundy.
It was on the spot, man. It was on the spot.
It's because it's
I'm-
not better than Castles of Burgundy.
No,
but
you
that's
know what's
okay.
better than Trois though is number 2 for me, Madeira, and that is a
Ooh, number 2, huh?
Huh.
yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I thought we were gonna sweep number 1 with it. Okay, let's see. I'm interested.
No. Madeira, obviously, you've got the 3 dice that you're going to roll, and you're going to pick which ones you want to do. And I think you get an action with that as well. Or
You think?
It's been a long time since I played Madeira, but I love the pirate die. I love the pirate dice in that game, and just a little bit more pirates don't hurt you. And oh, it's so good. That whole game is phenomenal. You guys can talk to it a little bit better than I can, but
I think we'll both come back to it. I wouldn't worry about it.
yeah.
My number 2 is La Granja, which everybody forgets is a dice game, but it is.
Me and Ryan were actually I will say, me and Ryan were having a conversation before this started about the games we picked, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I put La Granja on mine." I was like, "Does that have dice in it?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a total dice game." I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that one." It probably should have beat out Stone Age. I will say that La Granja is really good.
It is, and so it's not totally dice. I mean, the action selection is all dice, right? But another major focus of that game is the card play and the multiple utilizations of each card that you get. And so it's not pure dice, but it is a heavier game that utilizes dice as a main mechanism in the game. And it's all about farming, and you could never go wrong with farming in a heavy Euro game. It's like the perfect theme. So. All in all, that's a great game. I think we've discussed it before, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but that's my number 2.
All right. Well, La Granja, good game, very good game. But my number 2 is a game in which I think dice. If you're going to put dice in a heavy game, this is the perfect heavy game with dice in it. And I'll explain why my number 1 is higher than this. But Age of Steam is my number 2.
Barely uses dice.
The dice are a
choice.
very important part of that game. You
Lame
roll dice
choice.
every turn, but you are from the beginning of the game trying to gauge when those dice are going to be rolled, how they're going to be rolled, and what's going to be coming onto the board. You get
When
almost
they're going to be rolled, you know exactly when they're going to be rolled.
no, but what's going to show up on them, so to speak.
It's random.
Like,
Random.
it is random, but it's done in such a beautifully mitigatable way where you know everything that's going to happen when the dice is rolled, but you're trying to mitigate what you can do with it when it gets rolled. And so I think that is a beautiful implemented way to do dice in a heavy game, is to say, you don't know when this stuff is going to happen, but you know it eventually will happen. Here's your dice. They're going to roll. Figure it out as it happens. Be prepared for it. I think the dice are done in Age of Steam beautifully. I do not think it's auxiliary. I do not think it's a non-important part. I think that the dice in Age of Steam are very well used as far as dice in a heavy game. And so I put Age of Steam.
I couldn't disagree more. I couldn't disagree more with that assessment of that.
Well, Ryan, only one of us here has been a very famous reviewer for the Dice Tower and has a lot of meaning behind his opinions. So you can't exactly throw that in my face.
That's right. No, I just think that you can attempt to mitigate that, but the fact remains that when you roll those dice, if your decision as to where you should build based on the statistical relevance of something being put out is wrong, it's still random. And everything can go wrong from where you've built. Everything can go to the same place for a period of time. And so, I don't know. I disagree with you, but that's okay.
All right. Clay, refresh us.
Concordia is really good. I mean, that's my dice game for number 1. I'm just kidding. All right, so the number 1.
I was going to make a joke about Concordia, too, and I forgot.
That's enough jokes have been said about Concordia. For me, the number 1 dice game, this is the purest dice game out there. Okay, this game is phenomenal to play. If you guys are ever at a bar and you're just having a good time with people, break this out. No, Strike is good, man. It's a freaking awesome game. It's all about gladiatorial combat with your dice. You're trying to survive to be the last person standing.
Is this really your number 1?
Yes, because I don't like dice in games. if I'm gonna play a dice game, it's gonna be a party game. So
I thought the topic was top 5 heavy dice games.
It
it said dice games. It says top 5 dice games.
I agree with you, Ryan.
No heavy in there.
We're kicking Clay off
There's
the podcast.
no heavy. Guys, this is my last episode. I love you all.
Who else are we gonna get?
Okay, but
who else are we gonna get that can play Concordia every single month?
I know.
Just once a month. That should be easy. I mean, the game's not very heavy to start with, so it's not like getting Destiny dice to the table.
I've got fans out there that like Strike. I know I do. I know it. It's got to be.
Strike is nobody. I don't have anything against Strike. It just doesn't fit the show.
It doesn't, but dice doesn't fit the show either. So,
but that's the point. It's games we like that have random dice in them, and why we like them in spite of it, or what heavy games have dice that are still good.
All right, there's like
2, and along those lines, there's 5 actually, and they're all in my list.
No, your list is terrible. You need to rewrite that list.
My list has a lot of the same games as your list. Anyhow, number 1 is Madeira, as it is for Joe. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
And so as Clay said, you roll these dice and then you place them, and maybe you get an action with them. And also, there's pirate dice. I believe that's the most apt summary of the game I've ever heard. But what it really is,
demo it.
Yeah, and then you're done. Yeah. You win. No, I mean, so the dice dictate a lot of things, but the placement of a die ties it into so many different things moving forward. It's not just where you place the die, and the values on the dice only range from 1 to 3. But it not only helps you narrow down where you can place that die, which can be mitigated with payment of some resources. You can change the values of your dice somewhat with resources. But beyond that, it also ties it into the action of where you place it. And then beyond that, even, it ties it into a resolution later with the pirate dice, where you roll those pirate dice as well as calculate some things and figure out how much it's going to cost you to take a third action, or have to pay to not do that action if necessary, pay to do the action or not be able to pay and take a penalty. But there's so many layers of using that dice to make your action selection that kind of cascade down. That it makes the game very interesting, and it requires a lot of forward thought in the utilization of those dice. So while it's not so much about mitigating them, it is about using them in a way that kind of projects itself forward to the next several steps of that turn.
So why
did you stop reviewing games, dude? You need to continue that. You need to get back into that.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So my number 1 is not Madeira. My number 1 is Star Wars Destiny.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
No, my number 1 is Madeira. Madeira
you were serious for a second.
God, no. My number 1 is Madeira. Madeira is the best heavy game that involves dice that has ever been made and will ever be made. The reason it's better than Age of Steam is because Ryan is right. The way the dice are implemented in Age of Steam can be a bit annoying and can be the one thing that game suffers from. Whereas in Madeira, I actually think that it's added to from the game, because in Madeira, when those dice are rolled and when you select the dice that you want for that round, you have to do well at that game. There has to be so much thought put into which dice you select, not just where you're going to put them, but which dice you're taking from the beginning, because there's so many repercussions just from taking the dice, just from the simple act of grabbing the 3 dice you're going to use. So many reverberating things are going to happen in that game. There's so many just ripple effects that take place there. I think Madeira is the most beautifully implemented heavy game that still utilizes dice in a meaningful way. And I think that Madeira could not be a better heavy dice game. I think it is the best one that is out there, and it is way better than Strike.
Yeah, and you're right. I forgot about the dice selection part of it. I mean, just the taking the dice. I didn't even mention that, but the taking of the dice dictates how you're going to score points later in the game. I mean, immediately when you take your dice, you're like, oh, wait, now I have to do this.
But it's even so much more than that, because giving other players access to certain dice. Like if there's only one 3 on the table, you might not need that 3, but you know this guy does, and you know that you need to force him to spend all of his bread to not have that threat. It's crazy. You
got a hate draft, baby. Hate draft.
But Madeira is also so stinking good for the fact that, like, I mean, that action bundling, you take one action or do one decision in that game, has so many other things that you have to think about that go along with it. It's so beautiful.
I don't know how you can top a dice game like Madeira. I honestly don't know.
I don't think it can be done. I don't think it can be done.
The design is pure. It's
I like Clay's pronunciation of things. It makes me happy.
Shut up, Brian. Nobody likes you.
Well, before this podcast tears itself out from the inside.
By the way,
what?
By the way, Madeira is a top 10 game for me. Period. So
yes, it's not for me, but it's very good. We are all 3 of us going to be at Gen Con. All right. Gen Con is coming up. All 3 of us are going to be there. I will be there with Panda, Clay will be there with Capstone, and Ryan will be there as Scott Alden Sex Slave, okay? So all of us are going to be at Gen Con in some meaningful way. We'll be very busy. We are all excited to see you, though. We will not be walking around together in some giant conglomerate of deep-end swag monsters, but we are going to be at Gen Con. We're going to be very excited to see you. Come up, talk to us about the show. Tell us what you think about it. We're very excited to meet all of you that are going to be at Gen Con. Super excited just to get to know you guys and find all of the fans. And though we're not going to like have a huge deep end presence, because that's not what the show's about. We're just here to have fun, talk about games, and just kind of all give you guys something entertaining to listen to for a couple hours every month. But that's why our show exists. We're not there to be like this big giant presence and stuff like that. We just want to have fun with this show, talk about games that we enjoy, but we will all be at Gen Con in respective ways, and we're excited about it. Gen Con does not necessarily have the big outpouring of games that we enjoy. In fact, very much the opposite. I'm sure Essen is much more exciting as far as a game release standpoint, but most of us aren't going to be at Essen. We are going to be at Gen Con, and Gen Con is a week away, so we would be remiss if we don't at least talk about Gen Con. But are you guys excited about Gen Con?
Oh my God, man, I cannot wait. I am so pumped for it.
I am not as excited as I could be, but that's because I still have like 6 travel days before Gen Con. So I think I'm just like,
it's never going to get here.
I'm to the point where like I'm looking at it, I'm like, in a week, I'm going to be like not able to sleep because I have to drive 5 hours to get to Indianapolis. Like I'm like super pumped.
I think I'm flying to Indianapolis from Omaha, Nebraska.
That does not seem exciting. But no, real quick, just kind of give everyone your overall schedule, so to speak, but what you're going to be doing there at Gen Con, kind of what your perspective of Gen Con is going to be, what you're looking to do, what you're excited about. Just kind of give just a real quick overall summary of what you're going to be doing at Gen Con.
Who goes
Clay's
first?
Clay's going to be at the booth.
I'll be at the booth all day Thursday, baby, giving out the climbers. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, meeting. So Thursday's your best chance to catch me at the booth.
You excited?
Yeah. I am, man. So I really am. I've been pretty excited about this, and I cannot believe it's next week. All this like this planning. No, it seriously is. Like all this planning is coming together. We're right on schedule for everything, and just couldn't be happier for it. I mean, we just got done with Origins, it feels like, and Gen Con is a massive show compared to that, and getting to see everybody and just reconvene again at Indianapolis Convention Center. I'm excited for it, especially some of the events that are going on at night as well. I'll be at the events at night I'm going to, like Rolling Dice and Taking Names. They're doing a strike deal. I'm going to go to that just to hang out with those guys. The Secret Cabal hangout, and I think there's something going on Thursday night as well. But there's just a lot of stuff that's out there, and I'm excited to see everybody, and couldn't be happier for it again.
Cool. Ryan, what are you going to be doing at Gen Con? How could people find you? What are you going to be up to?
I will be working some in the BGG Hot Games room, taking tickets to let people in and kicking people out. That's my whole job, as far as I understand. Other than that, I don't make plans at Gen Con, historically, because it's mostly been schmoozing, which is what that con's really about when you're a reviewer, is schmoozing. But since I don't do that anymore, I will probably be playing some games. I mean, I'm going to go to the hall. I'm going to look for a couple things, maybe, and I think we're going to discuss that real briefly here. But other than that, I'm going to try and play some stuff that's probably coming out here in Germany or that came out at the con. And that's really about it. If you want to find me, I'll be around. I'm the loud guy that looks like this. So...
yeah, so I will be there with Panda, my employer. We have a booth in the first exposure playtest hall, so we're all of kind of the people are going to be demoing their games. We have a freaking amazing booth. You should come see our booth. It's so cool. But we're going to be really excited, just kind of hanging out there. Got a lot of meetings. I'm going to be running all over the place. So if you see me, go ahead and stop me, say hey to me. We'll talk. It's really cool. But if you're a publisher or you're looking at putting a game on Kickstarter or something like that, track me down. Shoot me a line on Twitter this week, and we'll make plans to meet up. Maybe we'll have lunch or something. But yeah, definitely hit me up, and I would really enjoy being able to take a look at your prototype or whatever you got going on. But that's what I'm going to be doing, is basically running from meeting to meeting to meeting. I think I've got like 13 meetings set up at Gen Con. And I'm really excited about a bunch of them. Some really, really cool meetings that I'm going to be going into for Panda, and I'm really excited about it. So, but definitely come see me, and that's what I'll be doing. But we're going to go through and just kind of give our top 2 games that we're excited to buy at Gen Con, and then our top 2 games that we're excited to see at Gen Con. So top 2 that we want to buy and top 2 that we want to see there. And so definitely have a look at that, because you know that there will be a lot that will be there that you will be able to look at, demo, but not be able to purchase. But there will be a couple of games, not a whole lot of heavier titles coming out, but some that I did find that might be of interest. So we're going to do top 2 to buy, top 2 to see. We will start with the 2 to see. So top 2 to see games at Gen Con, all right? And Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you to go first.
You want me to do both of them at the same time?
Yeah, give us one. Give us one, and we'll go through it just like that.
You want one? Just one?
Yeah, just one.
All right.
And then we'll do the second one.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to pick, I'm going to do an obvious one because I think it's still on Kickstarter at this point in time, but there will be a copy there. I'm going to say that a game to see will be Founders of Gloomhaven by Cephalofair, right? So this is the, I guess, spiritual prequel, kind of, or at least storyline prequel to the dungeon diving game, legacy type game that's currently out there, and I think actually getting ready to ship for the last Kickstarter, Gloomhaven. But this is a Euro-style game with a semi-cooperative aspect of building the city of Gloomhaven that occurs quite some time before the dungeon diving one that you are actually playing now, if you have it. So this is much more along the Euro aisle of games than Gloomhaven is. Everybody's trying to work to use their particular race to build out different types of buildings in the city, but they can only generate certain resources, and so they're going to have to use proximity to their opponents in order to gain other resources that they'll need to build or upgrade buildings as the game progresses. So interested to see that one. It should be there, but not to buy because it's on Kickstarter.
Isaac is a really interesting designer. He does a lot of really cool stuff with his designs. And it definitely, I've done some playtesting on this one, and I think it's a really, really solid, interesting, unique design, but very reminiscent of like a Great Zimbabwe feel. So if you're into that, check it out. So Clay, what about you? What's one that you're excited to see there?
One that's caught me by attention, I think it might have been at Essen last year, but it's Mini Rails, and it's by, I think it's Mo Ideas, yeah. Mo Ideas game design. Basically what this is, it's like a stock buying, tile laying game. And it plays in under an hour, and it just looks fascinating. I mean, the graphic design is beautiful on it. That's really what's got me pulled into this thing, aside from the economic aspect of the game. But just that tight economic game in under an hour is pretty intriguing to me. I definitely want to check that game out.
Is that not going to be available? I thought it was going to be available.
I don't know either. Yeah.
I just said, hey, man, I mean, I'm not going to go buy it. I'm going to go check it out.
He's not necessarily saying to see because it's not for sale. He's just saying he wants to go look at it to see what it is.
Yeah, it's like a try before I buy kind of game. Like, if it's good, I
got it.
Yeah. Did I do that wrong? Because if it was...
You fail at all lists. You lose all lists.
Yes.
All right.
Off the podcast with this guy.
All right. No, we'd never get rid of you. Where's the sex appeal if that happens? Then me and Ryan are gonna have to lose weight, and that's not gonna happen. All right. So number one for me for games to see there that will not be available for sale are first one is Cerebria, and so this is the next title coming from Mind Clash Games, who did amazing titles like Dracarion and really good, awesome big game like Anachrony that came out this year. This is their very quirky kind of team area control, very interesting style game, Cerebria. Very unique art, very cool, but they're going to have that one for demo. Super excited to see that one, see what's going on. Cerebria looks like a really, really sweet game, and it has an interesting concept behind it, and anything Mind Clash does, I've got my ear on that. So definitely look into Cerebria and go check it out. They should be at the Ape Games booth. So they're the ones with all the rubber ducks, if you're familiar with that. So what about you, Ryan? What's your next one? Ryan, are you there?
He's gone. He's gone.
All right, Clay, go ahead and go with your second one, and we'll see if Ryan gets back in.
I'll just text him real quick. Pop back in. I was going to say Founders of Gloomhaven, but you guys, or Ryan had talked about that. So I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter and Facebook about this game called Mint Delivery. It's like a pick up and deliver game. It's a really quick filler, 10 to 25 minutes. I don't know much about it, but a lot of people have said really good things. And I see that is only for demo. That's a game I definitely would look at. Pick up and deliver isn't a mechanic that's really used a lot in this industry and the types of games we see. So that's something I'd definitely check out. I don't know much about it, but Mint Delivery.
All right, very cool. So Ryan, go ahead and go with your second one that you want to see.
I think I'm here now. I was here the whole time. It was just super laggy. So, so my second one is City of the Big Shoulders, which is about Chicago. This is a game that will be, I think he'll just kind of be around demoing it. The guy's name, I am going to forget. It's Raymond Chandler III of Parallel Games, I think is the name of the company that he's technically with. This is a game that kind of combines the 18xx stock auctioning mechanisms with worker placement Euro game about building the city of Chicago. And so the phases will be kind of like a stock auction, and then some building of cities to add new actions to the board, then placement of workers to do things, then kind of like a manipulation round of delivering resources or things like that, and then clean up and start a whole again. And it's supposed to play pretty quickly, but have kind of that 18xx auction and stock feel with a more Euro-y theme behind it than train game. So that's what I'm interested in seeing.
You should definitely go play test his game. It is super solid, awesome. I've done some work on that one as well as far as play testing, but you should definitely go give that one a run through, Ryan. It's really, it's come a long way. I think that's going to be a really great game when it hits Kickstarter. So, all right, my number two is a Kickstarter. So my number two is a game coming out from Quinid Games, and that is Agra. Quinid Games is a really cool company. They're from the Netherlands, and they put out a bunch of like good, solid, medium weight Euros every single year. They've got really cool themes for them too. Like one's about pizza deliveries, one's about like an island resort. There's another one that's about like gangsters. But Agra is kind of like a typical Euro, but it looks really, really solid. solid. The artwork from Quinid is always on point. They do great stuff. They do a lot of awesome master editions of games. But I'm really excited about seeing Agra, because anything that Quinid kind of is putting out, I think is going to be super solid. And Agra is their newest offering. So really excited to see what's coming out from them. So Agra. Definitely check it out.
That's a really good pick. I agree with you.
All right.
Agreed.
So we're going to hit games to buy real quick, all right? Ryan, give us your number one game that you want to buy at Gen Con.
The Rur. Moving
along. Yes.
All right. Clay, what about you? Go ahead.
The Climbers, baby. The most awesome 3D abstract game out there. Nobody's got
can't buy it. You own all of the copies of the Climbers.
I'm going to go pick them up tomorrow, so I'll have them, yes. They will be there. For just real quick, for people that are confused about the whole pre-order deal, the pre-orders were just to guarantee you a copy. We wanted to reserve a certain percentage of the actual copies that are going to be there, so you could still get the game. Just can't guarantee you that you'll get it when you're there, but we'll have a bunch of copies for people at the show.
Awesome. I actually exempted myself from talking about the Rur and the Climbers because those are obviously the two I'm most excited about. I already own them, though, in their previous form. I'm sure I'll be picking up their newest form while I'm out there, but definitely amazing games. Super excited about those. Those are by far my number 1 and 2, but I wanted to choose some other ones just to kind of give some difference out there, and I didn't want to pander to Clay too much, but one game that I'm actually very excited about is a game coming out from WizKids of all people. But there's this game that I keep hearing about called Sidereal Confluence: Trading and Negotiation in the Elysium Quadrant. Wow. I have heard such interesting things about it. It might be another one of those really under the radar games. It might be extremely unique, or it might be terrible. I don't know, but I'm intrigued enough to go check it out, see what the game's all about, pick up a copy if I can, and just see what the whole deal's about. Because people are just kind of going a little nuts over this game, mostly because nobody can really put down what it is. Because some people are like, oh, it's a really interesting resource conversion game, but it plays with 13 players and it's timed and this. And I just want to see what it does. I'm interested. I'm curious. And with a name like Sidereal Confluence: Trading and Negotiation in the Elysium Quadrant, you can't exactly not be interested, right?
I'm super completely not interested. And also, that is the worst name in history.
I agree.
Sounds like an old school Fall Out Boy song. They just put way too many words into the title. They're just like, they're like, this has nothing to do with what the song's about.
I write sins, not tragedies. The end.
That was Panic at the Disco, by the way.
That's okay. Who cares? Also, terrible song naming.
It sounds the same.
All right. Go ahead, Ryan. What's your number 2 must buy, or at least one that you want to buy there?
Yeah. Custom Heroes, climbing game with card building. I'm in. So
okay,
it's two with modifiable cards. I'm interested in that.
All right, so Custom Heroes. I saw that one. The art looked really good. Clay,
yeah.
What about you, man? What you got?
I'm gonna have to say the Rur, which also has the Ohio.
Chill.
Yeah, it's really good though. It's pick up and deliver. You're going to be delivering to different avenues of like factories, cities, exporting it to different countries out there, gaining super cool powers. It's an awesome game. It's a really good medium weight, medium heavy style game. Amps up the complexity over Haspel Connect. So definitely check it out.
All right. I will definitely say though that the whose phone is ringing? But
it's mine.
All right. I will definitely say, Clay, that there are, if you want to buy a medium heavy, heavyweight Euro while you're at Gen Con, the Rur is about the only one you're going to get, because that's it. There are not a lot of good Euro games coming out. So if you want to get a new Euro game that's hitting the market at Gen Con, the Rur is the only one that's going to be out there. Like, nobody's even announced anything else. There's no Terraforming Mars this year. There's no Great Western Trail. There's no anything. If you want to get like a good meaty Euro, the Rur is the only one that's going to be on the market. So that's something. But it is also a fantastic game. My number 2 is just because I'm interested enough to give it a shot, and it's probably not going to be heavy enough to really kind of wet my whistle, but something I'm at least willing to give a shot to see how interesting it is Whistle Stop by Bezier Games. And so this is kind of like 18xx light, but not as light as Mini Rails, more kind of just has a pickup and delivery system, but you're laying hexes, building track, running your trains across the board. Looks interesting enough to at least give give it a feel, give it a couple plays, see where it falls. And if anything, it might be like 18xx light for families, which is never a negative thing to have on the shelf. And so Whistle Stop actually has my attention. I am interested to go by and check it out. But that's Whistle Stop by Bezier Games.
Joel Eddy told me on Twitter today, maybe it was yesterday, that he thought that it might be heavy enough to warrant my attention.
Might.
I think there's
Mini Rails, dude. That's where it's at. I'm gonna call it right now.
I think there's more to Whistle Stop than heavy gamers are going to be willing to try, and so I'm going to be willing to just kind of bite it and see what it's all about and let people know, because it takes the people that actually people listen to that have podcasts and stuff like that to actually try these games and give feedback on before more people will get into it. So that's why I'm interested in Whistle Stop. So
all right.
Try it.
Couple of Q&As though before we wrap this one up. Gone a little bit long, but we're going to do some Q&As and kind of let people know. A couple of people writing questions every single week. I still think we are getting some weird emails from people that there's a deep end something out there that is not our podcast, but we're going to keep answering their questions anyway. So we'll figure out what's going on. I think it's like a teen help website, but hey, it's all good. We'll give them some answers from 3 middle-aged board gamers. First question though is, hey guys, I know you play a lot of heavy games, but my wife only likes to play co-op games. I was just curious if you like co-op games, what your feelings are on them, and if you can recommend any good ones that me as a heavy gamer could also play with my wife. So what about you, Clay? Anything? What's your thoughts on co-op games, and can you recommend one?
It's not my forte, honestly, but the best one out there is Time Stories. It is genre defining. It is phenomenal. It is a great experience.
And a waste of money.
No, it's not a waste of money, dude. No, go away.
Disagree.
All right.
Disagree.
Ryan,
I'm also not huge on cooperative games, as you might expect. However, if I am going to play a cooperative game, I want to play one that has a good amount of strategy, but at the same time is not super heavy, because I want it to be over with. So I'm going to say Hanabi. Boom.
All right. I am not a co-op fan, but I will say Time Stories is amazing. But I don't think if you're a heavy gamer, that means you're going to like Time Stories, okay? I don't think that necessarily goes hand in hand. I will say that if you like heavier games, that a couple of games that you might be interested in are, one, Robinson Crusoe. That's kind of a game that has a little bit of meat on its bones. It's got some interesting stuff going on, and it's cooperative. And also, I mentioned it today, get yourself a copy of Spirit Island, because that game is awesome. Love Spirit Island, and it's cooperative, and it's still good. So check that one out, all right? Next question. All right. So I'm curious to hear about your different opinions for people, but is there anything that publishers keep doing with the games that they print that you just wish that they would quit doing? So this would be interesting. Is there anything that you wish publishers would quit doing with games? That is a loaded question, and I think we'll go right to our in-house publisher, Clay, and let him throw shade on other publishers. But what is something...
I don't have much, man. I honestly, for things that publishers are doing that I wish they would stop doing, I don't know, man.
I got an easy one.
Okay,
I got an
go
easy
ahead.
one.
What do you got?
Super easy. Nobody wants your unique box size. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But nobody wants a unique box size or a unique box shape or
Yes.
Bother me too much though. I don't. That doesn't bother me.
or oh my god, stop it with the stock inserts. Good lord, stock inserts. Just don't put that stupid piece of shit cardboard in there. Nobody wants it.
I don't do that. Here's the thing. I don't like the big box stuff, like where it's this big, huge. Hey, all the cards fit in this version. That's a waste of space. A big cardboard box, not a feasible thing to do.
There are maybe 3 or 4 acceptable box sizes. There's Ticket to Ride box. There's Stone Age box. There is small card game box. And that's actually mostly it. Those are the 3 box sizes you should be using.
You know what game has a stupid box size? Three Kingdoms
Lots of
Redux
them.
has a stupid
It does.
box
No, it does not. It has
It's the worst.
You want to know why it's bad? Is because it does not stay together. It's too thin
It
to stay
doesn't.
together.
You guys aren't doing it
So
right.
when it's
you're not
on
doing
the
it right.
shelf, if it's not pressed together with 2 other games, it comes apart and opens like this.
I don't know what you
Also-
guys are doing over there. You guys are putting other games in there.
Terrible marketing in terms of shelf space versus value of game. It's too small of a box to warrant the price tag, despite the game that it does warrant the price tag.
Let me and Ryan tell you how to run your business. All right,
Yes.
let us.
This has been very beneficial. I will. We'll make it a big box.
Reprint the game with a
version
bigger
next
box. Yeah, bigger
Okay.
box. Ticket to Ride box.
time. Nation size.
I got two personal things that I think is annoying in a game. First off, quit putting vacuum form plastic inserts into your game unless it's beautifully, amazingly designed like the one in the Vita Lacerda Eagle Griffin games. Unless you're going to do like an all-out beautiful plastic vacuum form tray, just stop. They're expensive. Most people throw them away. If you store your games vertically, they're garbage. They do not work. Just I don't think that vacuum form plastic trays are a good route to go, because even if you do like them, half the people out there don't. So I just don't think it's a very good value to put into your game. And there's not a lot of people that care that much about them anyway. It's kind of a leave it or not kind of thing. I don't like them. I don't care, and I think they're a waste of money. The second thing I wish people would quit doing, and this is a pet peeve, quit making your rule book a big fat square the size of the box. Make it a sheet of paper sized so you can hold it in your hand and not have 2 big floppy pages when you're trying to read the rule book. Make it a single, just 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper rule book so you can hold it like a booklet and read it. Quit making the rule book the size of your giant square box to try to get as many words on the page as possible. I mean, seriously, just make it a regular standard sheet of paper size, because nobody wants to read a rule book like this. It's annoying.
Make it like Jamaica's, where you have to fold it out on an entire table like a treasure map in order to read it. That's the best one.
Oh man, it's awful. I don't. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I hate reading a rule book where I have to like hold it like this to read. It's so annoying to me, because I want to sit in my chair with my rule book and read it like this, and I hate having to be like this when I'm reading my rule book. So
Let's finish this up. Let's do it. Go.
Last question. Hey guys, love what you guys are doing out there, but I got a real problem. So I was out at school the other day, and my mom went in and cleaned my room. Now, underneath my bed, I had a magazine that I am not supposed to have and a little bag of weed, and now I can't find it anywhere, and I know my mom went in and cleaned my room. I'm pretty sure she found the magazine and the weed, but it's been about a week, and they haven't said anything. What do you think I should do?
Nothing.
That's probably not your
baby.
mom. Somebody snuck in there. Some of your buddies snuck in your room, dude.
And cleaned
Or your
it?
dad. Could have been your dad.
Your dad's
Could have
probably
been
like,
your dad.
this is awesome, man. What is this? Good job, son. Good job.
Just let that go.
We didn't
That's what you
establish gender, but I'm gonna. I don't know.
I will say your parents are probably don't want to bring it up as much as you don't want them to bring it up. So I would say just as long as I would just play it cool. And if it does blow up, it does. But I just wouldn't press the issue. I definitely wouldn't go to your mom and be like, "Hey, do you have my weed? Can I get that back?" I was holding that for Big Worm. Yeah. But anyways, that's our advice for if your parents take your weed. So that's been the Deep End Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this. You can find us on Gmail. If you have a question you want answered, write it in. Send us to it at thedeependgames@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @TheDeepEndPod. You can also get on our Facebook page, which we do nothing on, at The Deep End Pod. You can join our guild on BGG, which we put no content on, or you can be a part of our Slack group, which we do check at least semi-frequently. So we are out there. We are in some ways involved. But if you do want to contact us on Twitter, you can get in touch with us. I know we're always talking to people on our own personal Twitter account. I am the Cardboard Truth. Ryan, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Slacker, SLAQR.
All right. And Clay, where can people find shirtless photos of you covered in baby oil?
At Capstone_Games. That's where I'm at.
All right. So if you want to see all of that goodness, definitely check that out. Come find us at Gen Con. Hit us up. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know what you're excited about. And reach out to us. We will see you after Gen Con when we are back with lots of crazy stories to tell you about. But definitely thank you for listening to the Deep End Podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Woo!
Bye-bye.